Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Before we get into the complete review for Wizard with a Gun, I do have one little tidbit that I want to throw in here. This is not up to the normal quality that my reviews are. I do apologize. I ended up having to go back and re-record the stream on YouTube to get something of better quality than what the recorded file turned out to be. Not sure what happened. I'll get it straightened out, and if I ever do a live review again, I will make sure that it does not come out to the same quality. Thank you for your time, and please enjoy the complete review for Wizard with a Gun. And welcome to the complete review of Wizard with a Gun. Doing this live on stream, there will be a breakout video that will accompany this review, so that way you don't have to watch the whole stream for it. Now, for a complete review, it's a game where I've played it through to as complete as I possibly can. I've done just about everything I can, checked out just about everything I can, tested everything I can. In this case, scanned everything I can. Well, for the most part. I do have a few things that are eluding me. One particular thing down here, and then, well, I'm not exactly sure, some of these aren't duplicates of other things that are already in the game, but I've played things as complete as I can with Wizard with a Gun, and I wasn't able to get 168, 150 plus hours of gameplay out of it, so I did do a week in the life review. But we're going to get right on into it. The story for Wizard with a Gun is it's a tangled web of deceit and betrayal, basically. You have multiple different groups, multiple different parties kind of vying for control of the tower, trying to control the chaos. You have a princess that wants to use the tower as like a prison because it's removed from the normal flow of space-time. You've got this guy here, Marcus the Magnificent. He and his father are planning to try to use the Oculus portal to gain infinite power, right? You know, the age-old ploy of become all-powerful and then take over the world. You got Hilda and her riders in here that are trying to find the Oculus, and they're kind of working with the Cryptomancer, kind of not working with the Cryptomancer. Marcus the Magnificent's kind of pulling the strings of the Cryptomancer. The Cryptomancer's like trying to do what he wants, but at the same time keep the Oculus and the Chaos locked away. There's a whole lot of double crossing going on, a whole lot of double plays, double cross, double speak. The main bad guy, from what I can figure out though, if we're going to have a main bad guy outside of the Chaos and the Harbinger of the Chaos, is Marcus the Magnificent. Like right here you can see that they're looking into trying to manipulate the Cryptomancer. Oh no, she's finding out too much. Everybody's trying to use the tower for their own ends, basically, right? Even us, as we find out through story and lore and talking to the writers when we fight them, we've been at this for a good while too, even though we just picked up the game. The story is not something that's overly present throughout the game, and it's not something that is... I don't want to say that it's not vital. It just basically sets up a background context for what you're doing, and rewinding the time over and over again, try to get all the gears, beat the Harbinger of Chaos. Pretty much what it boils down to. Just a lot of context, backstory. The relevant story is your story, your journey of getting through these biomes, defeating all the riders, collecting all your guns and unlocking all your spells, and then beating the Harbinger of Chaos. The bosses, to talk on them for just a good little second, we have Issa, we have Orion, Kalana, and Talia. I'm pretty sure the Mechantress is Issa. More than fairly confident. Okay, so Wallace doesn't say anything about being Issa's. That says something about being Orion's. That says something about being Kalana's. I'm guessing if we come down here to the rifle, No. Oh, well, I named it Talia's Overwatch, but it's just called Rifle, and it doesn't say anything about being Talia's, so... Pretty sure the Mechantress is Issa, though. Now, each of these 4 bosses has their own mechanics. They have their own arena. You saw Issa and Orion in the A Day in the Life review for Wizard with a Gun. Again, link down below. Love the shameless plugs. Talia and Kalana I didn't beat until after, and I didn't stream those. I didn't have any inclusion of their fights in the A Day in the Life review because I hadn't done them. Out of all 4 of these boss fights, I love Issa. Like, the first time I went in and I fought Issa, I was, like, riding on very little health. You saw that in the Day in the Life review. Like, I was riding no healers, very little health, and I was just hoping to pull out a win on my first try. I got great, adrenaline exhilaration moment from that with her, but she is the easiest of the bosses. She pops out little mechanical enemies to help her fight. They're taken down really easily. The big guy she pops out is easily avoided, and the worst thing you have to worry about is, keeping damage on her and him so he doesn't heal her. Great boss fight, though. For the first boss fight, really intense. I did not, like, in comparison to all the other enemies I had fought, Issa exhibited a whole new level of aggression. And that was a really wonderful, just kind of like, catch you, clock you in the jaw once. Hey, you got to be on your toes. Orion... I'm torn on Orion. If you get caught off guard by Orion, or you're not paying attention to his DOT, he can sneak up on you. He can try to get you. He hasn't ever killed me. Issa hasn't ever killed me. Kalana hasn't killed me, and Talia's never killed me, but... outside of just the sheer amount of damage he can throw out with his minigun stacked up on top the DOT, he doesn't have a whole lot that really... He doesn't have a whole lot to put a whole lot of pressure on you other than, oh crap, I wasn't paying attention, I just let him shoot me with, like, half of his minigun rounds. The DOT will stack up, but it's nothing that your potions can't overcome if you're paying attention to your health. Between Issa and Orion in the Day in the Life review, I did have the idea of, well, could I just stack up a bunch of my best healing potions and just tank the crap out of all their damage? No. Issa probably. She doesn't... without her little mechanical companions, she doesn't throw out enough damage quickly enough to overwhelm your ability to heal. Plus, you're on the move. Orion does have the ability to overwhelm your ability to heal. I was trying the tanking idea, and if I had a video ready, I'd just go ahead and pull that up and show you that on stream, but in trying to test to see if I could tank him, he almost killed me, and I was using the best healing potions in the game, the ones that heal 900. I was using the grand healing potions, and he still almost overwhelmed me while I was healing. So I'm gonna have to go with no. You wouldn't be able to just tank him out. Kalana, if you don't stay moving, like, you have to stay moving. If you don't stay moving, she is gonna knock you around. She's gonna freeze you. She's gonna get chill effects off on you. She's got ice drill, I'm pretty sure, is one of her powders on her main weapon, because it does the little spray out when she busts up one of her ice blocks. And then she just keeps layering more and more and more of the force blasts out, and that knocks you around into the spike, not the spikes, but the little cactus plants on the edge of the arena, and that just knocks you around constantly, keeps ticking up damage. I went back to fight Kalana, and I was like, oh, I beat her once, I got this. This ain't gonna be no thing. I wasn't stocked up on healers. I didn't go in prepared. And quite literally, the trusty duster here got me through. I ran out of ammo, and my fire shotgun, I was using the refined version at the time, but I just wasn't. I just didn't have any damage. I couldn't put out any damage. I was out of all my damage bullets, and that was literally the only gun I had, but it pulled me through just barely. which is why the trusty duster is going to be sticking around even though I'm not using it. Yep. Kalana to me was the hardest. Now, that's just because of all the knocking around, the freezing, the limiting my mobility, able to throw me off so I'm not necessarily in control of where I want to go. Talia, you can tell that she is supposed to be the most difficult boss fight because instead of like this big square arena like you get for Issa, like you get for Orion, like you get for Kalana, you have a thin ring that you have to navigate around. There's boxes on there you can use for cover. They also provide obstructions for if you're trying to move. I would highly recommend using teleporting bullets with Talia, just like our friend did in the trailer, because they come in handy. And it's gonna seem kind of counterintuitive, but you actually want to navigate, dodge, get through her little electric traps that she throws out on the floor to shock you, damage you, limit your mobility. But you want to get up in Talia's face, because then she's going to try to melee you with the butt of her rifle. That is much easier to dodge and does less damage than when she shoots you. Her arena, I would say, is the most difficult, but Talia herself was not the most difficult boss. For me, it was Kalana, because I guess maybe this is more of a personal thing, but when an enemy really starts to like deny me mobility, deny me the ability to use my attacks, like piling up denial on me is one of the easiest ways to frustrate me. And Kalana, while denying your movement, and then she just lays into you when you don't have control of your mobility because you're frozen or she's just knocking you around. The denial of my movement, which is your only way to avoid damage. Yeah, that's why I'm going to say Kalana was the hardest boss fight, at least for me, because of that frustration. Now, the Harbinger being the final boss, the Harbinger throws out emissaries at you, it throws out eyes at you, it has, I guess they would be ambush rifts. It has ambush rifts pop up on you. The emissaries start throwing out the mites. This is another enemy that the boss spawns up on you. I just never taken the time to stop to scan it during the final boss fight. Mainly because I kill those things so quickly. The easiest way to kill those things outside of something like a shotgun with order bullets on it is a shotgun where you pile up lightning strike on it. And because, well, I mean, you see this on both in two different Odin's shotguns, the Odin's ring finger. Yeah, easiest way is to fully charge up an Odin shotgun and then just unleash a lightning strike 4 on an enemy. I haven't found too many enemies that don't get really overwhelmed by that kind of attack from Odin shotgun quickly enough. Now, I've also got what I'm calling the Priest. You know, good old Manwa there. It's the Fidrosh sawed-off shotgun, and it does really great as well. It reloads really quickly, and you're able to pile out damage on it really easily, especially with order. And if you get right up in their face, you're hitting whatever enemy with the full spread of the order, kind of like you are with the Odin shotgun, and it just really overwhelms them in terms of damage. It's hard for me to assign a level of difficulty to the Harbinger boss fight because a lot of the difficulty that I encounter in that boss fight doesn't come from the Harbinger spawning up emissaries or any of the other chaos enemies, the Devourers, the Eyes, the Mites, whatever these guys are called. When it starts to do a lot of attacks, it's raining down chaos, it's throwing out a ton of chaos, it's doing like the 5-7 spread beam. I'm able to get around that, navigate through that pretty easily. I like to put order trails on my order bullets so that way I can remove chaos from the ground. I have experimented a little bit here with putting summoning ground, like on Talia's rifle here and on this Odin's rifle that I was using in place of it as well. The summon the ground, there's only been one time that I was like, I need to shoot this spell so I can have the ground. There was another time where I realized after the fight, I was like, wait a minute, wasn't there some ground here? And I was like, oh yeah, I've got summon ground on my order bullets. It's helpful, it's useful, and it can save your life. It can come in real handy. It provides you another option to keep mobile. But the teleporting bullet really seems to override it. The teleporting bullet is, as far as mobility goes, at least with the way I play, I'll preface it that way, with the way I play, it eliminates the need for me to use the ground layer. It eliminates the need for me to worry about resources to have ammunition to shoot out of the ground layer. For me, it also like completely eliminated the need to look into the summon ground bullet. The summon ground bullet is what you see Hilda using in a couple of the trailers where she's shooting out of her like little wonder bus, and then she bounces across the little stones trying to get up to the Oculus portal. I have never used this bullet once. And that's mainly because of the teleport bullet providing that mobility. Now, again, in the Harbinger boss fight, it has come up where the summon ground, hey, I noticed it. I found a need to craft a ground layer in the middle of another run just to keep some allies that I had charmed with me, because I was wanting to take, it was two of the Eskimo people that had like the big melee weapons, and I wanted to take them with me to fight the Harbinger. They died almost immediately. Even with all of the upgrades on charm bullets to give them extra health, extra damage. It didn't matter for them. But again, for me, the teleport bullet would have eliminated any kind of need to have them. It would have eliminated any kind of mobility restriction that the Harbinger could have put on me. But there are some uses for it. The Harbinger boss fight is mainly going to come down to the terrain, the geography, its positioning in relation to where all the other biomes kind of meet up. If there's a lot of stuff in the way, if there's a lot of big holes in the ground, that's going to be more of a detriment to you than not having summoning ground or summoning ground trails. And that's also why I have difficulty assigning a level of difficulty to the Harbinger boss fight. But that's why. Because it doesn't necessarily come down to so much as what you're using or the Harbinger. It comes down to the terrain in the environment. And speaking of the terrain in the environment, in the Day in the Life review, I said it seemed that the map was based off a set of templates. Right? Like you have a main template and then you have permutations and variations within that template. And right now this is a really good example of that. On stream, before I launched in this review, when I was finishing up my last 5 bounties, I had a whole area extending off up over this way as part of the Imperium, and I had my frozen waste extending really far up to the north. I had about this much space, and then it began to fan out and my portals were like up over here and then far up over here. This is actually a pretty compact variation on the map. But you have your central area. This is the Imperium. All of the different biomes, like this would be the Imperium here with these portals, and this up here would be your frozen waste. This down here is going to be your desert, and this over here is going to be the fell, the swamp. All of them coalesce around the middle where the Oculus is, and that's the Harbinger boss fight. Now with this setup, these 2 big holes could provide some huge issues to me in the boss fight. Now if the boss fight was like more over here, I would have all this area. I wouldn't even have to worry about these 2. Pretty much, if I'm bumping up into those 2, I'm going too far in one direction. But the map is based off basically a set of templates. It doesn't have a set pattern, it doesn't have a set map. The easiest way to think about it is if you have a circle in the middle and then you just basically kind of draw like a partial over off of each end, like you're drawing a very basic flat line. That's the easiest way to think about the map. You got the Imperium, you got the frozen waste, you got the desert, and you have the swamp. Within the middle, that's where the Oculus is going to be. That's where the final boss is going to be. Streamline some time here real quick. Enemies outside of the bosses, I don't have too many comments on them. It's usually the higher level, the area you go in, and the bigger the enemy, the physically bigger the enemy is, the harder they're going to be to bring down. That's pretty much the pattern. One thing I will say about the various enemies, and I'm going to disregard the bosses because the Harbinger, you would say the weakness is chaos, because the chaos bullets are the order bullets are the chaos killers. None of the other riders, I would say that they have a particular weakness, but it would have been nice to see amongst just like some basic enemies, you know, say fire works a little bit better in the frozen wastes or the fell as opposed to the Imperium or the barren sea, the desert. Like with all these dudes spitting out fire like they do, I wouldn't expect any kind of like ice stuff to be very effective, but it is. But there's nothing that's like, oh hey, this area, this particular element, or this, you know, classification of spells, you know, whether you're looking at sorcerer, alchemist, magus, or warlock, none of those have like a particular mechanical effectiveness on anything. Now that would have been nice to see in relation to some of the more basic enemies, but they're kind of just a way to get different kinds of resources. So now, Wizard with a Gun is all about gunmancing, spellcasting, so of course it is all about the guns, if I could press the right button. I talked about the 4 main kinds of guns that you have in the A Day in the Life review. Something I do need to correct is that when I was talking about like the pistol and the SMG and the rifle, I mentioned damage, like the pistol has medium damage. I should have said medium DPS instead of damage, because, well, the damage comes off of the spells, right? If I come in here and I look at any one of these guns, the damage these bullets do is based off the kind of gun that it is and the kind of bullet that it is, the straight damage. I should have said DPS, because DPS is related to ammo count and fire rate. Just want to correct that real quick. Now, out of all 4 of these guns, the pistol, the carbine, the SMG, and the shotgun, the pistol and the shotgun to me were the most flexible and most effective, right? Shotguns were always really dependable for high DPS. Granted, it's more of a burst DPS because you have a low ammo count, but if I really needed to pile some damage on an enemy, a shotgun was always a good go-to. No matter what else I was experimenting with, no matter if I was seeing if I could pump up, you know, the SMG's damage or the rifle's damage a whole lot, the shotgun always was the damage king, was always the reliable damage king. Now, the rifle, the carbine, does do really great damage as well, but, well, I mean, it's a rifle. You kind of need that range. You need your enemy to have to close a gap with you for it to be most effective. The shotgun, get up in my face, come on, let's go, let's do this. Now, pistol I also found to be very flexible, because you can pretty much put anything on it. You can put fire and shocking, you can put fire and ice, you can put poison and fear, you can put poison and sepsis, poison and delirium, fire and oil. You can mix anything on a pistol, and it's usually pretty reliable. SMGs, I really like SMGs because I like automatic weapons. I like being able to pour damage out really quickly, but the drawback to an SMG is when you try to say, here with a lightning strike bullet. There's no need for me to ever have as many lightning strike bullets on an SMG as I would something like a shocking bullet. And in all honesty, doing something more like a, combining like poison and freezing, or combining poison and fire, freezing and fire, lightning and fire, that's more effective on an SMG than trying to, say, pair up a poison finisher or a stunning bullet or a freezing bullet. I never tried ice wall bullets and force bullets, so that could be something that would be effective, but you need something that you can hit a lot of different enemies really quickly, mainly damage. Things that don't do damage, they do work on an SMG, but it's I always felt like I was kind of holding myself back because I really wanted to try, like, let me stack up some poison really quickly and then boom, sepsis them for big damage. The cooldown in between being able to shoot sepsis bullets, I'd always felt like it was more effective coming out of a shotgun, a rifle, or a pistol. Now, a good example of what I was talking about is SMGs are, well, you put double chaos on them and you're not going to find anything that is going to be a more reliable chaos fighter. Now, of course, you get some like your Odin's weapons, you pile up, your lightning strike or something more advanced than what you would find in the base game, then yes, you can find much more effective killers. But as far as the base game goes, and just, your shabby, rugged, trusty, and refined weapons go, and the main weapons you will find throughout the game, guns you can get from young Joshua, your SMG is going to be probably your most effective chaos killer. You can get really good effective chaos killers out of the carbines as well, but as you can see here, you got to pair them up with something like freezing or stunning. There are so many guns, especially with bounty of guns in the game now. There is so much to experiment with, there's so much to test, there's so much to try out, there's so much that you can mess with, change, modify, and find your perfect combo of weapons, perfect combo of spells on them. Especially with some of the extra abilities some of these newer guns do. But the guns, I gotta give 2 thumbs up. They added in cannons with bounty of guns, so you can get like a shabby, a rugged, a trusty, and a refined cannon. Those I found only to be able to put like one kind of bullet on. They didn't have the ability to put 2 kinds of bullets. Don't quote me, but I want to say that. And I thought I had another cannon, but all the advanced cannons, they come with 2. And I thought I kept a refined around, so I do apologize about that. But yeah, cannons are really great when you can use 2 kinds of bullets. If you can only use 1 kind of bullet, I don't see much of any. Like, unless that's like maybe your destruction bullet gun. But it is something fun, it is something new, it is something different to try. It allows for more different kinds of play styles, and it allows for, well, because I have started up another save just so I could see about maybe when Bounty with a Gun started, but it's clear that it's going to be after you defeat multiple of the riders. My money, as best as I can anticipate with what I know about Wizard with a Gun, I would think when you unlock the Barren Wastes after you beat Kalana and you have access to all 4 biomes, that would be the earliest Bounty of Guns would start. There are so many different powders. I'm not going to go into them. I'm not going to go into listing all the different kinds of bullets again. These are, of course, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, but as you can see, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different types of main damage bullets. You got your order bullets down here for fighting chaos, and then you get into your utility bullets, which you have 8 of, and then your 5 summoning bullets. You've also got your poison finisher bullets to pair up with your poison bullets, but they aren't your main damage kind of bullets. Then if we go in and we look in powders, aha! Oh, look at all of them, all those different colored symbols. Oh my lord, we could spend a lot of time here. We're not going to. Fire and oil was... yeah, I would have to say it was my absolute, like, most used combo, fire and oil. It was my biggest crutch. You can see that I've got Diablo here, the refined Wonderbust, and then I've got Lucifer here. I have kind of had some kind of fiery name to go with my fire and oil shotguns all throughout my playthrough. You can see that I have Thunderlord with Shocking and Lightning Strike. Another fire and oil on an SMG. Yeah, fire and oil was my main used combo. Now, when I got some of the upgrades for fear, because I kept wanting to use poison, kept wanting to find a good way, and I, you know, kept trying to make sepsis like my end-all be-all damager, right? Well, poison and fear is a much more effective combo, especially because on a poison and fear type gun, you can increase the effectiveness of your poison on the feared enemy, or you can increase your effectiveness of all your attacks on that enemy. And it is the algophobia powder and the fear effect. Yeah, it's powerful. Poison and fear, man. Poison and fear. In the back half of the game, poison and fear became a really big crutch. I made an intentional move to try not to use fire and oil combos, or like my fire and oil shotgun as my crutch, so I did get to experience a lot of other stuff. That's how we come across Icebreaker and Stasis Buster here. And Icebreaker, of course, if you look at Vortex down here, I pretty much ripped the idea, modified it a little bit, and got it amped up with a lot more damage, because I put it on that cannon, and that cannon does extra damage on top of being a cannon, which does more damage than a shotgun. All in all, about the only things I couldn't really find a good use for, and I couldn't find something that I would call an effective use for, is mostly my summoning bullets. You know, there are a few utility bullets, like the calming bullet. It's like, why would I calm the enemy when I can just charm them? I don't know. Stasis, if you're not pairing it up with force, it's more of a hindrance than anything. Out of all the utility bullets, fear and stunning were... well, fear, stunning, and oil were by far the most effective. You can damage the enemy while they're stunned. Fear, it's kind of like they're stunned. You can make them slow. You can make all your attacks do extra damage. Oil allows you to set the world on fire. Yes. And that is very effective. Even considering that you can also pair up oil with shocking by making conductive oil, by putting the grounding oil powder. A bunch of little enemies like the barren wastes, and then a couple of bosses in this, or a couple of the world bosses in the swamps that you get gears from, that are surrounded by all like the little frogs, the big cat that's surrounded by all the little cats, the big goat surrounded by all the little goats. Shocking was really effective there, and I could pair that up with various other things. I got the most effectiveness out of that in a shotgun. Teleporters, they're really powerful, pretty much eliminates the need for summoning ground stuff and your ground layer gun. Chaos are your best, well, your order bullets are your best chaos fighters. I could talk good things and negative, I could talk positives and drawbacks on all these different kinds of bullets. I'll just wrap up this section with The revive bullet, I didn't use at all. Not once. Didn't use the calming bullet. Not once at all. Never used the summoning ground bullet. And I never used the rolling stone bullet, because by the time I got into testing that, I also had access to the metal ball bearing, so I figured that would be metal be more effective than stone. There's a lot of great stuff in here. You just basically kind of have to experiment and find what works best for you. There are certain things that naturally pair up more easily than others. But yeah, getting into powders, some of my favorites outside of just the ones that increase damage was like the dripping oil that would spread oil around and oil other enemies. I liked increasing the cooling effect of slow. I really liked parrying up Shattering Force and Ice Drill on a stasis weapon to really pump up some damage. Oh, of course, how can I forget the telekinesis powder? This is another one of my ultimate favorites. You can see that over here on Port Breaker. Pretty much whenever I'm destroying something with it, it immediately teleports that resource into my pack. It's just as amazing as the teleporting bullet. Revolutionary, life-changing, really. I never used decelerate or accelerate. I mainly used faster. I never really found a reason to slow down a bullet. I guess I didn't experiment enough. All the homing ones, like pretty much all these homing ones are useful depending on what you're using for, except for this one, crude homing. Avoid it. It just goes after the nearest thing. It's worthless. Now, we talked a lot about guns, and I have in powders just now, and the bullets, and I've talked a lot about the bounty of, or a little bit about the bounty of guns. So just to get into the bounty of guns, as best as I can tell, this is something that starts when you beat the game. This is an in-game activity. You're meant to take your gathered arcana and run out into the world. You can go through any of your portals. You're going to find a little sign like this, a little bounty board posted up outside of one of your portals. You look in it, you have to have arcana to accept the bounty, which is why I say this is where you get to use your stored up arcana. But then, man, I should have brought something more than just my port breaker. But I would select one of these, and it would give me an arrow, and it would indicate, hey, go this direction or that direction, wherever. And on my map, I would see a little scroll icon. And that is how I would know that that's a bounty. You go there, you kill the bounty target, you get a little chest. It would be like a Barren Waste bounty or a Fell bounty or an Imperium bounty. It's a little chest, and you bring it back to your bounty mechana here. And you would press E, but I don't have any bounties, and he at that point would then spit out some guns. You got to see this on stream right before we started this review. And the bounty of guns. The bounty of guns. Give me just a second. We will read my chart. Now that break, that pause that happens right there, just to talk about a technical issue, where it hitched up there and then started going. On my newer save, that I have not unlocked Bounty of Guns stuff yet, it doesn't do that. My entire playthrough, it doesn't do that. But once Bounty of Guns became active and I was engaging with it on this character, that hitch happens every single time. It's something with the game. It's not your hardware. It's not my hardware. Maybe it is my hardware. But as best I can tell, that is something that happens once all the bounty stuff is then added into the world. I guess maybe because it's having to load more to be there, or have more stuff kind of like preloaded, something like that. But it is a game limitation. It's something with the game. It's most likely not you or your hardware. But anyways, once you cash in your little bounty of guns, aha! You get all sorts of different kinds of new guns. You have a hand cannon here. It's literally just like one of your big cannons, but it's a pistol. You have to reload after each shot, But hey, you got 4 powders, you got 2 different kinds of bullets you can shoot. We have this new Tommy gun type of weapon that was introduced. It's a little brand new archetype of weapon, kind of like the cannons was with Bounty of Guns. So far, I have seen the Fidro Cult Buster and the HC Hurricane as the main ones here for the Tommy guns. There might be some others, and I just haven't come across them yet. I haven't. If you look at the actual list of all the guns they added in with Bounty Guns, there's a lot of unique ones like the hand cannon, the bejeweled shotgun, the fish skull rifle. You come over here, you've got the Polaris, you know, the fire spitter, the frost vial, a lot of unique weapons. But then you got some new ones like the Fidro weapons. These are not in a set, the poison weapons, they're each individual guns, but I kind of tested them, kind of grouped them in my own mind as these are guns in a set. Now, the Odin's guns, well, you also got the Wonk's guns. The Wonk's guns, they just shoot out crazily, right? You can't predict, like, you could shoot out a bullet and it would spin around and then finally explode or whatever. Unpredictable, but can be very effective. Here, I found that with the ice wall and the force bullets, if I get right up in somebody's face, boom, it puts all the ice wall bullets like right in front of you. You can even like lock them into a corner. You pump them up with the force bullets, and then it shatters all over the enemy. Massive, massive damage. Not easily, I won't say not easily, but not consistently able to be pulled off because, again, it just spreads out and goes everywhere. And that's the way it is for all the Wonk's guns. There's an SMG, there's a rifle, there's a pistol, there's a shotgun. I haven't found a cannon, but I'm going to kind of assume that there is a cannon. Let's move my head fit here. But yes, I've done some kind of basic light damage testing just to see what the extra benefits of charging up an Odin's gun were. What's the benefit of having the cursed weapons drain my health? And, well, testing destruction 4 bullets, just so I could basically operate off the same numbers. I wouldn't have to worry about fire, DOT, poison stacks, anything like that. Just to give an example, I'm not going to go through all of these, but the refined pistol does 132 damage with a destruction 4 bullet. An Odin's pistol, you have to fully charge it up to shoot, it does 330. The cursed pistol does 172 damage, but you also lose 2 HP with each shot. Wonk's gun, well, the pistol does the exact same amount of damage as a refined pistol. The Wonk's shotgun actually does more damage than a refined shotgun, and the Wonk's rifle does the same amount of damage that a refined rifle would. So the Wonk's weapons, outside of being unpredictable, they're going to be roughly comparable to your refined weapons. You can basically be assured that if you're using a cursed gun, you are going to be taking some damage, but you're always going to be doing a good chunk more. Just to kind of go over a little more here, the refined shotgun does 59 damage per pellet. The cursed shotgun does 132, but you lose 3 HP per pull of the trigger. The SMG for refined does 40. The cursed SMG does 66. So it is an increase in damage. It isn't the same increase across the board depending on the weapon type, but it is always an increase in damage. Now the Odin's weapons, you got to charge them up, but well, if you're kind of wondering what the extra benefit to these would be, and if you've heard me talk about earlier, oh lord, and where I was talking earlier, you know what? Let's just avoid trouble. With the Odin shotgun here, let's look at that. So a refined shotgun does 59 damage per pellet. An Odin shotgun, you have to fully charge it to shoot it, does 198 damage per pellet. That's an almost 4 times increase. The Odin's gun, like all the Odin's guns are that way. But they aren't always the most powerful. As an example, the cursed SMG does 66 damage per shot. You lose an HP. A fully charged Audin's SMG only does 49 per shot. I would still recommend the Audin's over the Curse, not just because you lose HP, but once you fully charge up an Audin's SMG shot, and I've got some charming bullets I can demonstrate this here with. Welcome to my firing range. Got a nice view. But once you charge it up, you can literally blow your entire load on the enemy quicker than you could with a cursed weapon, quicker than you could with a refined weapon, quicker than you can with any SMG. Chaos, effective. Fire, effective. Cold, effective. Shocking, effective. Any kind of damage. One moment. I apologize about that. Whoever lives out behind me needs to get their belt, their serpentine belt, replaced. Sorry about that. But anyways, as you can see, you get to blow your entire load with the Audin's shotgun. The Audin's SMG. The shotgun works very much the same way. Instead of pumping out a spray, pumping out a spray, pumping out a spray, you charge it up, whoosh, all the sprays come out at once. That's why the lightning strike is so effective. Bounty with the guns is not difficult. One of the most difficult things you're going to find with bounty of the guns is that occasionally you come across an enemy that has a combination of abilities that they are just really hard to bring down. These bounty targets, you're going to find them to be, most of them are going to be challenging. They're going to be like fighting a mini boss fight. Now, outside of that mini boss fight, you will still find some that come down pretty quickly and easily, as seen on stream beforehand. You can find some like bounty variations of like a little enemy, and well, at that point, they're not really difficult to bring down. I mean, they can be, but most times not. The really difficult ones are going to be the bigger enemies when they've got like fire and poison calling off of them, and then they're throwing out these random freezing bomb. It can get pretty crazy, but it's really fun too. Turn in all your bounties here, you get your guns, and then you have fun playing with and experimenting with new ones. The different sets like the HC, the cursed weapons, the Audin's guns, your Fidro guns, they're going to have a theme that goes with that weapon set. Just play around, experiment. Your Audin's guns were probably your quickest killers, but just experiment around with some different stuff. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here in the complete review of Wizard with a Gun is actually not in the game at the moment. Recently, there was a beta done for a 4-player co-op. Right now, outside of PC, Wizard with a Gun is 2-player co-op. Now, you can do co-op 2 people with Wizard with a Gun online, but split screen, it's just 2, and PC can't do split screen. Now, this 4-player technical beta went from March 29th out through April the 2nd. According to their most recent post, they got a lot of good data and they got a lot of good feedback. I'm pretty sure it's not live, the 4-player thing for the entire game. It might be. But from their post here, I don't anticipate it's live yet. But the beta did conclude with great results. Now, being able to do 4... Ooh, thank God I had a Audin's weapon on. But 4-player co-op, I would imagine, would just allow them to get more crazier. You'd like see maybe multiple kind of bounty type targets where they're throwing off a whole bunch of stuff and have a whole bunch of resistances. I could see that getting to be some pretty crazy stuff. And I'm going to be keeping my eye on Wizard with the Gun because I am going to want to see new stuff as it comes out. I didn't get to participate in the 4-player beta, I didn't sign up for it, so maybe if I had done that, that kind of might have helped. But I just completely missed the thing until the announcement that the beta was going live, and it was like the day before. So I was like, I didn't keep. But maybe stuff in the future, right? Now, after the 4-player beta, another thing I want to mention is that Wizard with a Gun does have microtransactions. Go away. And we're just going to pause you. It does have some microtransactions, right? It does have some additional content. You can get a digital art book. You can get the Bounty Hunter pack, which this is a cosmetic pack, right? You can get the Gunmancer pack. And some more cosmetics, right? And then you can also get the soundtrack. Now, as you can see, when I hover over here, I have purchased the soundtrack. I love the music in Wizard with a Gun. Ryan Ike did a wonderful job with all of the music, and you got to hear some of it on stream before we were going through. You got to hear a lot of music here in the tower as we've been sitting in here. But really, really great music. I personally love the music. I listen to it my off time just because it's good music, and I just really like it. Now, sound design. All of the guns have a good punchy sound. The sounds are lined up really well. I haven't come across any huge audio desyncs or anything like that. I haven't had any issues where the sound cuts out. It just matches up really great with the music and the art style. Of course, you can see the art style here. We've been looking at it. Galvanic did something in that sort of 2D artistic style, kind of cartoony. It really matches up with like other Devolver brand type games like Cult of the Lamb. It just all works really well. The last thing I think I can really talk about to you guys is playtime value for this review. Now, playtime value, I look at that as you should never, ever, ever get less than 1 hour of gameplay per dollar spent on the game. There are a few very curated, really dependent upon replay type of games that might break my rule. Me personally, though, with all the games I play and all the games I have played, should never get less than an hour of gameplay per dollar spent on the game. And Wizard with a Gun, I've gotten 86 hours of play out of it. That includes Bounty with a Guns, that includes starting up another character and getting them like halfway to Issa. That included starting up a character for another character just for the A Day in the Life review, so that way I could make sure I had clear and easily presentable tutorial footage. This, I didn't buy Wizard with a Gun. Again, it was purchased for me, but it was $25 USD, $24.99. And as you can see, I have gotten more than 3 times the amount of playtime as was spent on this game. This game was a gift to me for my birthday. It wasn't something I received like via promotion, or I didn't get a code or nothing like that. A friend bought this for me. Right, so I just want to be clear about that. But with this playtime value, I mean, there's more guns. There's guns, like, as I said, I haven't played with. If we come back over here, I haven't done anything at all with this fish skull rifle. I haven't tried out anything with the rotten repeater. I haven't really done anything with Wallace or Blight Spreader or the Hammer of Soul. Right? I've played with pretty much all these guns down here, except for the pistol. I got that today. Tried out a hand cannon. Tried out a bejeweled shotgun. I don't have them lying around anymore. I kept blank copies. As you can see, I messed around with the Fidro Cult Buster a little bit. Fidro Cult Buster a little bit. There we go. Now I can talk like a person. And, I mean, obviously I've unlocked everything. I've unlocked everything in all the different tables. Like, if you want to keep experimenting with Bounty with the Guns provides you that exact thing. I want to keep playing Wizard with a Gun. I want more to do. I want to experiment more. I want to try more combos. And I think with more content that they're going to be adding, the only thing I know of right now is that they're looking at the 4-player beta test. But I mean, if they're going to be allowing us to play 4-player co-op, they got to give us something that's going to be crazy to kind of match the output in terms of damage that we'll be able to do. So hey, maybe we can get some new bosses or something at some point. I'm going to be keeping my eyes out. I'm going to keep looking at this. This is a game that I recommend. I strongly recommend. This is a game that if you like these kinds of games, if you like Devolver type games, if you like twin stick shooters, you can get a lot of enjoyment out of this for the money that you would spend on it. Of course, if you can get it on sale, I'm never going to fault someone for wanting to get it on sale. Save you some money. I would recommend checking GOG. Last time I checked GOG Galaxy, which was yesterday, I didn't see Wizard with a Gun, but always check GOG first. Why? Because you get DRM-free versions of games through GOG. Not trying to knock on Steam or Epic. I use both Steam, Epic, and well, I use all three of them. But if you can get a DRM-free version, why not do that? Do keep an eye out on things like your PlayStation Plus subscriptions and Game Pass. If Wizard with a Gun ever comes to Game Pass or a subscription service where that you already have, you wouldn't be wise to pass up playing it, especially if you can do it for free. But no matter how you get the game, I strongly recommend Wizard with a Gun. I recommended it in the A Day in the Life review, and that has changed to a strong recommendation. Very solid game. Very solid game. Are you going to be able to play it for forever? No. But then again, should you be able to play a game for absolutely forever? All good things must come to an end. And so has this review, and so has my playtime thus far with Wizard with a Gun. I hope to see more stuff come out, and I'll be doing some streams reviewing that, talking about it, checking it out if they do. And in the meantime, well, I think the only thing left for me to say is that I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and thank you very much for your time.